Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I just left Target and Barnes and Noble, and I generally I swing by there once a month, and I kind of check out what's going on in comic land. I mention this to other retailers from time to time. They always look at me like I'm weird and this makes no sense, but I think there's value in learning what's going on in the stores, what's going on with customer experience, how things are being marketed, what trends we're seeing. It's all very helpful, and it takes no time. I mean, and it's enjoyable. You walk in there, grab some coffee, kind of wander around the shop, look at what's going on, drive over to the next place. I mean, it's this is like a half an hour, maybe a little bit more, and easy. But there's this very striking, I mean, and I recommend, by the way, anyone do this, especially, particularly, if you work in comics, if you're a content creator, if you're a person who works full time for one of the publishers, or if you're a YouTuber. Absolutely, if you're a YouTuber, get in there and go look at it for yourself, because I think there's a lot of watered down information, things that aren't entirely right. And this is one of those cases where, a picture tells 1,000 words. And if you're looking on the screen right now, I took a bunch of pictures and I took a short video in here, and you can kind of see some of the things I'm seeing. But pictures can also be misleading. I want to just stress that. I mean, I'm not doing anything dodgy with these pictures. I didn't Photoshop them or do anything weird, but it's no substitute for going and seeing it for yourself. So go check it out. If you're a fan and you've been really kind of carrying this torch of, manga is killing the U.S. comics and all the rest, again, go look for yourself. At least get educated about what's going on and ask some questions. You don't even have to do that. You can just go in, get yourself something to drink, look with your own eyes, walk out, and get a pretty good picture. But if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, I understand. Again, look at the screen. You can kind of see what's going on. The picture that we're seeing in both, Target. So what is, Target, hopefully you're familiar with that, big box store, very similar to Walmart. I'm going to visit a Walmart later in the week and kind of being able to see what's going on there as well. But Target has very slowly moved to more manga in the shop. Now, here's the baffling part, and this is the thing I want to stress right now. Target is heavily pushing Marvel and DC content. There's a section in the Legos, there's a section in the toys, there's shirts, there's diapers. Yes, you've got Marvel diapers there. Perhaps those diapers, as Larry pointed out, they're for when you realize that manga is taking over the comics and you need to pee yourself. Those diapers come in handy. I don't know. But this is there's Marvel content throughout the shop, and most noticeably in Target, you go to the movies and you see that Marvel or Disney has paid for little banners, in-cap placement for things like Black Widow, Suicide Squad. There's plenty of money going in there. What's maybe most aggravating is that there's a section in where the movies are, where they've got Black Widow lined up there, and they've got Suicide lined up there, where books can be placed. And the idea in Target's mind is that, hey, if I can get them to buy one thing, it would be great if I can get them to buy two things. So I'll put the related piece of content right next to it, and they pick up the movie, and maybe they pick up a book. Except there are no Black Widow or Suicide Squad comics inside of Target. So what's sitting there? One Punch Man is sitting there. Somebody at Target's like, well, I want to put a comic in the section for the comics, so I'm going to put, I guess, some manga where the U.S. stuff is. And I'm sorry, there's no way to see this and not go, who's asleep at the wheel? Because clearly there is an interest in Marvel content and DC content. This is one of the misnomers that you hear on YouTube a lot, like, everybody's fleeing this stuff. No, it's still selling. It's still selling fine. Now, I do think some things are in decline, and clearly from the shelves, it does not look like Eternals is going over with the toys. There's plenty of Eternals. They're not moving. But by and large, that stuff continues to sell. People are continuing to pick up shirts with the Batman logo on it. They're buying, there were people buying DVDs of Suicide Squad and Black Widow. They looked like they were selling pretty well. People are buying this stuff. Yet, no, but they're not playing the game. This isn't even like, hey, the Western comics aren't selling. They're not even available. There's nothing there. There's no graphic novels. There's no floppies. There's zero comics. They're not even trying. And it's not like that store doesn't want them, because, again, you move just a little bit over and you see these end caps, and the manga is been slowly moved from the very, very back of the store to kind of middle section in the books, now to a end cap on the main aisle. And the manga, I'm standing here looking at it, and the woman comes by who's stocking stuff. And she's like, "This is all we've got." I didn't say anything. She just volunteered this. And I go, yeah, it seems like it's selling pretty well. She's like, "We fully stocked it this morning before the store opened." It's 10:30 in the morning. So yeah, I don't know when does Target open? 7 or 8. In either 3.5 or 2.5 hours, half of the shelf had disappeared. Half on a weekday. That's insane. So, like, typically speaking, these shelves are always getting emptied out. And one of the reasons, what I said, why do you have it on the end if there's a lot of empty shelf space? And she's like, yeah, that's one reason why we often move it back in, because we don't have the product to sell, and we don't want just an empty end cap that's losing money for us. So it was a very quick conversation, but it was funny. It's the stuff is selling. People are going into Target buying books. There is zero truth, zero, to anyone who claims that people are just not interested in buying comics anymore, that print is dead. That is profoundly untrue, and you can see it with your own eyes. You go in there. If you look at the book section, you will find things Marvel related from Disney Publishing, where you've got like YA type Marvel stories, either comics and text, or even some kid based graphic novels. Beast Boy, Raven, those YA DC books are there, but by and large, nothing. So again, there's a market. They're selling the Marvel content, they're selling the DC content, but none of the comics. However, Manga's in there selling comics. It's not like there aren't comics to sell. Again, there are floppies that they could sell. There are collected graphic novels that they could sell. There's plenty of material that Marvel and DC could have on those shelves, but they do not. They're empty. They're not because they're not selling, not because they're selling out. It's empty because they're not trying, because there is nothing being sold. And it's not, I mean, I can like chip off every argument against this. It's not like they don't have a relationship with Target. They obviously do, since Marvel's putting other stuff through there. Disney's putting other stuff through there. I don't know, if I was to estimate of the licensed material, I would guess Disney owns like 30% of what's sold in that store. Disney is dominant, but nothing on the comic side. There's already a channel set up. They're selling printed comics, just manga. So what's going on? This, a lot of the videos speculate like, oh, none of this stuff's being bought because it's woke. But that's not the story we're seeing here. Now, you can make that argument. Maybe it's, maybe there's some truth to it in terms of social agendas not getting picked up by people and it's diminishing the overall market. I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying it's much simpler in this case. It doesn't exist. They're not even trying. There's nothing there. They're not shipping it. Who knows if it would sell or not? There's nothing. But manga is doing incredibly well. So I go across the street to Barnes & Noble, and there I see an interesting development. The manga section has expanded. It's now, I think it's 22 shelves of manga. 22 shelves. And the manga is packed in there, sideways packed. So spine out. So it could fit as much as humanly possible. Here's where it gets insane to me. Barnes & Noble had placed baskets in the manga section, a little stand with baskets. One of the pictures you'll see on the screen shows that. Now, the only other place there's baskets in this entire store is at the very front. Very front, when you walk in the door, there's some baskets there. And then there's another basket stand in the manga. Why is there a basket stand in the manga? Well, according to the man who was working there, people need a basket because they're buying so much of it. Think about that for a moment. You're going to a bookstore and you need to put a second placement of baskets in the manga area because so many people are buying them. That's insane. In addition to the 20 plus shelves that were there, they had several rolling carts that they had moved out and placed in that section as well. They do that because the stuff for the high selling stuff, and it was Berserk that was really selling well. They said that because it's selling so fast and it's it continues to kind of cycle through, that is just much easier for them to put the things that they have to restock multiple times in the same day. Okay? Multiple times. We're in a pandemic. People are very comfortable going to Amazon right now to publish or to purchase books and things like this. Up in this area, the Seattle area, you can if you order something on Amazon, you can get same day delivery for a lot of this stuff. Despite that, people are going to Barnes and Noble, a store that several people have. When I posted pictures from Barnes and Noble in the past, some jackass always comes in there and goes, "I didn't even know the bookstore was still alive. Who's buying books anymore? LOL." Yeah, people are buying so much manga in the bookstore that they put the high selling stuff on a rolling cart so it's easier for them to restock multiple times in one day. Again, go see for yourself. Literally, if you want to do this, it's this is the Bothell or Woodinville, Woodinville, I believe. Target, Barnes and Noble. You can go to the exact same store I went into today. Go check it out. Now, again, it's not bad news for Western comics, by the way. The Western comic shelves at this Barnes & Noble had been 3 shelves, and now it is 4 shelves. That's still 1/6 of the shelf space that manga is getting, and they don't have rolling carts or anything. But hey, it's grown by 1, and a win is a win. So good news. It's out there now. The interesting part though about the Western comics, the U.S. based comics, is that there's very little growth, I would say, from Marvel and DC. In fact, if anything, and I'm speaking very anecdotally here, just from kind of observation, it looked like the Marvel DC content had shrunk. There was less Batman than I remember in the past, less Superman, less Wonder Woman, less Spider-Man, less Avengers than I've seen in years past. What had really grown was the Umbrella Academy, Lock and Key, Sweet Tooth. I guess Sweet Tooth is technically DC, but a lot of the stuff that was Netflix. The Boys was there pretty heavily. A bunch of, I'm trying to think of some of the others, but it was stuff that you've seen on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. That was what was heavily there. A big growth in indie material was there. Stuff that's been adapted into movies. That's what seemed to be fueling that part of the growth. But growth is growth. So again, the narrative of the Western comics are all dying out. I think I would tweak that a little bit. I don't think that's quite right. I don't think it's dying out as much as it's just getting its ass handed to it in terms of growth, because it looks like, from shelf space and other things, it does look like that, one, there's an interest in that content. It's just not being served. That was the case at Target. And 2, there's an interest in that stuff, and it was growing slightly, but it was growing more to the indies, not the big 2. And manga was just walking all over it, curb stomping it. The manga is doing a better job of meeting the challenge right now of getting its product on the shelves. I think that's the clear statement. They're doing a better job with the packaging, with the marketing, with the display, with all these other pieces. Manga is doing a better, more solid job of meeting the market. By contrast, a lot of US companies are either not playing at all, and it is baffling to see them completely ignore or give up on places like Target. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to see the same picture over at Walmart. That's just bizarre to me. That's shooting fish in a barrel. It's the easiest money, particularly when you're already there for other products. But the story at Barnes & Noble is just the heat and demand is clearly with manga. And I'll wrap this up with kind of one statement. So as I'm there and taking pictures, not trying to look like a complete creeper, this mom shows up with her daughter. And the daughter has a Wonder Woman t-shirt, or not a t-shirt, a backpack. There's a logo on the backpack of Wonder Woman. And they're in the manga section, and the girl is like grabbing some manga. And I'm standing there, and the mom, I don't remember what the mom said, but the mom engaged first. So she said something, and I'm talking back and forth. And I said, so I'm curious, she's got, why isn't she getting Wonder Woman? Why is she getting manga? Pointing at the backpack as saying, clearly she at least has some interest in Wonder Woman and that character and that logo. She has that backpack. She's not wearing a Naruto backpack. She's not wearing a Demon Slayer backpack. She's wearing a Wonder Woman backpack, yet she's in the manga section getting the books. Why is that? And the mom goes, it's just much easier to know where to begin with this stuff, pointing to the manga. That was her only answer. She didn't say, price. She didn't say, any of the number of things she said. She said all the things we speculate on the channel from time to time, like, oh, are they not aligning to the movies closely enough? Or, man, we got Wonder Woman over here in 1984 in the movies, but in the comics, she's off in Asgard. Like, what's going on? Does that make it complicated for her? All these things we speculate on here and many other channels. Lots of people speculate. Like, oh, it's politics in the comic. That must be driving people away. The answer was the most dead simple answer possible. With manga, you know where to begin. And what she meant by that, if it's not clear, is that you can walk up to the shelf, you can grab the manga that has the number 1 on it, and know you're starting at the beginning of the story. If you try and do that over in the Western comics area, it is impossible. You can't. First of all, the origin stories, the first stories, are not there, in part because the big 2 publishers seem embarrassed of some of their old stories for whatever crazy reason. But this would explain one other thing. If we're taking that mom's comment and saying there's a lot of truth to this, and this is what's driving a lot of parts of the industry, then that also explains why the indies and the stuff based on TV shows is growing. Because, to be fair, if you go over and you look at Umbrella Academy, or you look at The Boys, or you look at comics like that, Sweet Tooth, what do you know? There is a book there with the number 1 on the side of it. You pick it up, you know where to start. So, is this the big driving factor? I don't think it's the big drive. I think there's a lot of pieces in this, as we've talked about. I think there's a lot of things happening here, but I think that's a really powerful one. You know where to start. Because you know where to start, it's easy to pick up. It's easy to keep going. That's interesting. I mean, there's a clue there. Only a fool would ignore that. I do think, by the way, that that's part of the reason why sometimes you hear comic creators and others say we need to get rid of all the legacy characters and just start new with more inclusive, diverse characters. Except it doesn't quite work that way. If you're still leveraging the Superman brand and the Batman brand, you aren't starting new. It's not like somebody is going to pick up, Superman, son of Kal-El, John Kent, number 1, and go, this is a good starting place, and it's not confusing to me at all why I'm picking up this book. It's going to be confusing as hell, because it's like, well, we're calling this character Superman, but this isn't the Superman we knew before, and the real Superman is his dad, but his dad's out in space, and he's like, that's not a number 1. That's not a starting point. I don't think you need to dump all the comics and start over with everything at all. I just think you got to make it available. I think, quite frankly, good Lord, printing in the same kind of paper and trade dress as manga for Western comics, just taking Fantastic Four number 1 through number 50, printing it in black and white on that cheap paper like they do with manga, and putting it out there for $7. Yeah, that would probably be smart. I mean, it's funny because when I brought this up before, people said, yeah, but people aren't gonna the art from the 60s won't appeal to the kids from today. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't agree. And you're basically saying that it's somehow easier for kids in the U.S. to basically pick up something that was written and drawn in a completely different country and different culture, and that's somehow more accessible than Jack Kirby art in the 60s. You're out of your mind. Anyway, there you go. Little observation. Hope that's useful. What a crazy time. Thanks for listening.